Hello, welcome to Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. If you were on your travels this weekend abroad, NordVPN would have been the perfect way to stay on top of all the Premiership action. Keith, how's it going?
Would it?
It would have been perfect. Would have been great.
Okay. That's good to know.
There you go. For your next travels, your next trip. Because I know you like a holiday, let's be honest, you know.
Yeah, well, I'll actually need to talk to you about that. Something.
Nice
and by the way, that NordVPN thing that you're talking about, there's a discount for our people, isn't there?
There definitely is a discount, a big discount, and I'm not just saying it because we're paid to say it, but it is actually really good. NordVPN, I've used it twice already when I've been abroad.
Okay.
Save my bacon.
I feel like we both need a shower now. Can we get on with the football?
Absolutely. I think the best place for us to start. It's been a packed weekend, and obviously we will touch on just about everything. The Premiership, huge win for Celtic yesterday, very damaging defeat for Hearts, and obviously Dundee derby earlier on today too. But I think, Keith, the best place for us to start is probably Rangers. I mean, it wasn't pretty. In fact, it was diabolical for most of it, but Rangers get the 3 points.
There's two ways of looking at it, I guess. If you're an optimistic Rangers fan, you'll look at it and say, that's how you win titles. You go to difficult away grounds, you grind out a 1-0 win, you get up the road with 3 points. That's the sign of champions, winning without playing particularly well. Then there's the other way of looking at it. And the other way of looking at it is, there is no way that side looks like championship winning material. They were so unimpressive today. It was such a slog. And it keeps coming back to the same problems. And this, I've written a column for tomorrow's paper, Dan, kind of drilling into the detail here in terms of the problem with Rangers. The biggest problem right now is a lack of firepower and a lack of creativity in the final third. It's no surprise, for example, that it's a fullback that pops up to Romans pops up with the winning goal today. Because look like making chances. And I don't know how you can sustain that over the course of a title run and expect to come out on top. So I did a little bit, and I think Celtic have got a similar issue, Dan, which is why I think Hearts are, although this has been a bit of a bruising weekend for them, a bad result at Kilmarnock, the whole thing's concertinaing up now at the top of the table. Celtic a point behind, Rangers 3 points behind in third. But I'm going to come back to it. Listen, here's some numbers, right? So Lon Shanklin's ready to come back now, and we expect him to be back full training this week. Now, between them, although Shanklin hasn't kicked a ball since January, he scored 16 goals this season, and Claudio Braga has scored 15. That's firepower. And that's, for me, going to be crucial in this running. And that's why people will say, oh, that's the Hearts bubble bust because they lost at Kilmarnock. Well, there's the reason why that's not the Hearts bubble bust. And then if you look at, what did we say going into the January transfer market? We said that Rangers and Celtic probably both need to find the same thing. A striker that can come in here and make the difference. Maybe score double figures over the remainder of the campaign, because that's what's going to be required to become title winners, to make either of these teams look like title winners. Rangers thought they had him in Nadiri, and obviously Andrew Kavanagh pushed the boat out on the final day of the transfer window to make that deal happen. £4.5 million. He must have been expecting that Ryan Nadiri was going to be that guy for Rangers. Ryan Nadiri, and by the way, he works, he runs his socks off, he's full of energy and enthusiasm, but he scored 2 goals since his transfer, and that they were both against Queen's Park in an 8-0 routing in the Scottish Cup. So he hasn't contributed or made the kind of contribution that I'm sure Rangers were hoping for. Chermiti, he scored 9 goals all season. 8 of them, by the way, again in games against Celtic and Hearts.
It's remarkable, that.
So his only contribution outside the games against Celtic and Hearts has been 1 league goal against Kilmarnock. That's not title-winning material. And then Majowski is obviously the kind of second, third fiddle, whatever you want to call it, sitting on the bench most of it. He scored 4 league goals all season. I think that's a major problem going into this running, because if you've not got a firing striker, you've got a problem. And that's where certainly Rangers, they've proven that over the last few weeks, that they're really struggling to click in the final third of the pitch. Now, if you look at Celtic, Jovanchira, he scored 1 goal in 11 games in the first half of the season in Turkey. He's now scored 2 in 11 games for Celtic, one of them being the penalty of the weekend.
Yep.
He doesn't look like a goal scorer.
No.
He's certainly not going to be a double figures goal scorer between now and the end of the season. Junior Adamu, he scored 2 goals for Freiburg in the first half of the season, and he scored 1 since signing for Celtic against Dundee in the Cup in the last minute. Dyson Maeda, he scored 8 goals all season. His last goal was in January the 10th versus Dundee United. He's now gone 14 consecutive games without a goal. I keep coming back to it. If you've not got goal scorers, and playing in the final third, you're going to have a problem in this running. The other Celtic striker that would come into the argument, Kelechi Iheanacho, he scored 3 goals all season, 2 in the league, 1 in the Europa League. He last scored 6 months ago, 3-2 home win over Motherwell. I think these are real significant problems, and that's why when I look at what's still to come, the fact that Hearts are getting Shankland back, he's still the top goal scorer, and he's going to couple up with Claudio Braga. There's goals there, and that's why if I'm Hearts, yes, I think that's a sore one. They licked their wounds after losing at Rugby Park, but they're armed to the teeth in terms of what they've got up top, and I think that will become crucial going into this final phase of the season.
You can see there in the comments, Gordy Boy completely agrees with you. And we've got plenty of comments coming in. If you want to get involved in the conversation, fire us with your opinions and questions.
The bottom line is, Dan, Rangers and Celtic haven't got a number 9 between them.
Aye.
Hearts have got 2.
You're right. Aye, that's a fair point. Well, look, Rangers number 9s was actually talked about between myself and Record Sport's Scott McDermott after the game today at the Samisa Stadium. He was there for Record Sport. I pull him up at the start of this clip, Keith, about taking a holiday during this title race. I mean, who does he think he is, really? He's got a Hotline Live to do every night. We'll
get back to you later on that one, Dan.
So I'm laying this on thick now that you've dropped that hint. But aye,
everybody needs a wee bit of sunshine, Dan.
Let's hear what Scott thought on Rangers' win over St Mirren today. Scott, first things first. How dare you take a holiday during such an intense title race? The Hotline Live viewers have been missing your take all week. I mean, that's outrageous behaviour.
I must admit, Dan, when the first day of my holiday was last week with the Old Firm Cup tie, and I was watching the events unfold at full time. I thought, I've taken the exact right week to take off.
Perfect timing.
Leaving all that stuff to Andy Newport and Keith Jackson getting police statements and all that. That's right up their street.
Exactly. They love all that. It was back to football today. Look, it wasn't pretty, but Rangers needed the 3 points and they got them.
100%. When that result obviously comes through on Saturday night for Rugby Park, Kilmarnock beating Hearts, I think everyone of our Rangers' persuasion thought, there might be a wee opportunity to get back in this. I mean, it's strange, Daniel, because when Rangers dropped 2 points against Celtic at Ibrox, obviously losing the 2-goal lead, I think a lot of people kind of felt that day, Rangers are out of this, especially after the cup defeat. I know it's the cup, but the kind of disappointment of that last week, there was just a kind of a real feel of negativity around the place. But it was only probably last night when the Kilmarnock result comes through and you're looking again at the table and thinking, if Rangers can win at St Mirren, they can get themselves back in it. Probably did they realise just how tight it was. So they only had one job today, Rangers, and that was to come here and get 3 points. When we arrived here today, the conditions were terrible. It was blowing a gale, it was raining, it was freezing. It's the type of fixture, type of occasion that Rangers have stumbled at in the past, and you feared that might be the case again. And look, you're right, it wasn't pretty at all, but they got the job done. Danny Rowe has to take the positives from that. They showed a bit of grit, bit of determination. They scored a good goal. I think he'll want loads more from them in an attacking sense. I think the big plus was just defensively how solid they looked. I mean, St Mirren regularly caused Rangers problems at the back. I don't think Jack Butland did a safety make today. I think Nasser Giga and Emmanuel Fernandez seem to be striking up a pretty solid partnership. Thought they were good against Celtic as well last week. So those are the things they'll be really, really pleased about. And as you say, just getting the 3 points, absolutely crucial for them. And it gets them right back in it with a home game against Aberdeen up next.
You mentioned there that Danny Rowe, and I know he said after the game that he couldn't resist smiling at the Hearts defeat last night to Kilmarnock. You can see the table on the screen now. I mean, it's tantalisingly close. I mean, 63 points, 61, 60, and they've all obviously played each other multiple times. I mean, they are still right in this, Rangers. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was Keith says to me earlier on, did Rangers look like champion material, or have they looked like champion material? But my response to that would be, well, do any of the top three look like champion material? Yeah, I don't think any of them are playing particularly well at this moment in time, which you'd maybe expect in the run-in, given what's at stake and the kind of tensions. But, I mean, I've said my piece today for the game. I mean, whoever wins ugliest might just win this league, because as I say, there's so much at stake. The games are massive every week. Doesn't really matter where you go and who you're playing against. It's just about getting over the line. Danny Rowe said that in his post-match conference there. Whoever shows, it's an obvious thing to say, whoever shows the most consistency now will win it. And it's just about scraping results. I don't think any of these three teams are going to play scintillating football between now and mid-May when it will be decided. So all they can do is tick the games off one at a time. I think next week, looking at the dynamic, I think Hearts play first at home, Rangers playing the Saturday night, and then Celtic, obviously, I think they go to Tannadice on the Sunday, which won't be easy. So next weekend will be another thriller, no doubt.
You mentioned there Giga and Fernandez, and I completely agree. I thought they cruised it against Celtic last week. Same again today. St Mirren, as you say, I can't even remember one instance where they troubled Jack Butland. But what does that say about John Souttar? I'm kind of surprised that where he finds himself now, kind of out the team at the most crucial point in the season. I'm
not particularly surprised just by the fact I think John Souttar's levels have dropped a wee bit in recent weeks, recent months. I mean, he came off the bench against Celtic last week for Giga. I thought immediately, Rangers didn't look as comfortable at the back as they did when Giga and Fernandez were there. Now, listen, we all had a bit of a pop at Giga probably at the start of the season, because there was a few games he looked like a bit of a bomb scare. The Celtic game at Hampden, the Cup game at Hampden, particularly, looked a bag of nerves, and you weren't sure whether Danny Rowe would be able to trust him. He went to AFCON, didn't play a minute, and you thought, God, is he even going to come back to Rangers? Might they try and send him back to Wolves? Kind of end his loan early. But to be fair to him, and I think the big difference, Daniel, and it was the same again today, he hasn't been taking as many chances at the back, I don't think. I mean, there was a ball get played down the side after about 5 minutes today, and Dan Lunderloo, St Mirren's big strikers, chasing it, and Giga just knocked it out of the park. I mean, just literally just knocked it out of the park after a couple of minutes. And I thought, that's a guy that's learning. When you come to these venues against these types of opposition, you can't take the kind of chances, turning when you're running back towards your own goal. So I've been really impressed with him the last couple of weeks. Fernandez, as you say, I think is cruising through games. I mean, your heart's still in your mouth a wee bit with him at times, because he does like to take a chance, whether that's with his defending or he's passing out. But I just think, look, it might be too early, but the two of them just look as if they're quite comfortable with each other. They look solid. They look as if they've got a decent relationship back there. And I think going into the title run-in, Danny Rowe will be looking at that and thinking, that's a decent platform for us. If we know they're going to be solid and not give up many chances, certainly didn't give up many today, that can give Rangers a real platform to go and try and win games. However, the other side of the flip side of that is he needs far more for his forward players, because the guys at the other end of the pitch aren't really producing at the minute.
I was going to ask you that, Scott. I don't know if you saw, but Chris Boyle on Sky Sports was having a bit of a dig at both Chermiti and Nadiri after the game. I mean, how did you see their performance today? Are they doing enough to be kind of title-winning strikers at the minute?
Nah, they have to do more, Daniel. I mean, Danny Rose went with this 4-4-2 in recent weeks, or basically since January, when he got Nadiri and Skov Olsen in. And the reason for that was he felt that they were pretty solid at the back, but they had to take it up a notch going forward. They had to score more goals, create more chances. It hasn't really worked out well. I mean, the Hearts game at home, they won 4-2. It looked promising with Chermiti and Nadiri up front. But since then, I don't really think it's worked with the two of them. I mean, the two of them worked hard. Nadiri especially, it looked shattered by the time he came off today. I mean, he puts a shift in, but he doesn't look a massive goal threat. And for me, Daniel, the thing about the two of them that I'm disappointed in, they're up there as a two. I don't see much link up between them. I don't see them working as a pair or as a partnership. I think that's what Rowe would have been hoping for.
He's not. He surprised me, Nadiri, in the sense that he's not at all what I imagined. I imagined him being this big sort of goal poacher striker that was going to barrel over centre halves. He's contributing, like you say. Doesn't he stop running? But he's not really what I imagined at all.
He's dropping into midfield. Danny, because of the 4-4-2, Danny Rowe's asking him, when Rangers don't have the ball, to drop in and sit on the kind of deepest line midfield. I mean, against Celtic last week, it felt like he was playing 2 or 3 positions in the one game. And the manager knows he can get that from him because he's kind of work ethic and he knows he's willing to do it. But I agree with you. I think you're losing a bit in Nadiri in the box. You want to see him as a penalty box striker. And that's just not happening for them at the minute.
And Chermiti, look, we've talked about him ad nauseam on the Hotline Live. You never know what you're going to get. He can be world class or he can be a bit underwhelming. It was probably the latter today.
Only scores against Celtic Hearts. As simple as that.
Aye, that's it. Well, look, Scott, I'll let you get up the road. Thanks so much for joining us on the Hotline Live. I know I say this all the time, but I'm absolutely positive I'll be pestering you to get you back on soon.
No worries, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Scott. Scott McDermott there, Keith. I've got tons of comments coming in. Let me throw a few of these at you. Rangers Easy OK says, evening lads, 8 wins and this Rangers team are champions. We had to win at all costs today, at absolute all costs. The 3 teams are not firing, but we need to keep it together and believe. This one from Mark, he says, big win for Rangers. Expected points dropped as they usually do when there's a chance to progress. AF Scott says, Rangers look way stronger defensively with Giga over Suter. Suter was Celtic's best player last week in the Cup. And Tone says 3 points today was what it was all about. I think it could be down to goal difference for the eventual winner. There's also a bit of a running theme in the comments, Keith, about fans thinking that Hearts have chucked it. Let the comments do the talking. The Canadian Hammer says, Keith, Hearts will finish third. They won't be leaders by the split. Wilkinson says, also think Hearts will finish at best third. Wouldn't be certain they can stay ahead of Motherwell. Ross says, you can see Hearts are starting to crumble. Celtic will kick on and secure 5 in a row. This one as well. DD says, Keith, you're forgetting to mention Nigren to suit your narrative. He scored more goals than Shankland and Braga. And very finally, Marzuno says, how are Celtic still in this with 7 games lost? What more do the opposition want?
Yeah, well, look, variety of things there, and a whole lot of wishful thinking. Listen, I'm sure that Rangers and Celtic will be expecting Hearts just to fade away now. I'm pointing to reasons that I don't believe that will be the case. And I think if you've got 2 strikers like Shankland and Claudio Braga, you've got a chance. Because these guys are finishers for clinical. Aye. I absolutely accept that Nygren has made a massive contribution in terms of his goals for Celtic this season, but he's not centre forward. and what I'm saying is, I might be entirely wrong. Maybe somebody can point out to me the last time that a team won the title in Scotland without having a fully functioning centre forward or 2. And I can't. I was racking my brain. I can't think of one example of a team winning a title without having a goal scorer to lead the line. Nigan has chipped in, and he's as I said, his contribution has been terrific, certainly in terms of goals, but he's not a striker. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, going into the final stretch, Hearts have got the two best strikers. And,
look, people can write in. I don't think anyone can argue with that. Sure.
Well, that for me could be decisive.
Aye. The one thing look, personally for Celtic, and I know you caught up with Michael Gannon, who was at Celtic Park yesterday. Yeah. Massive win for them. She just, this is a very optimistic way of looking at it, is that, Dyson Ryder for one, 14 games he's not scored, his biggest drought since he was at Celtic. I bet he thinks, well, he's going to score soon. He's got to score a couple of goals coming up. But aside from that, I don't know who scores the goals for Celtic. I really don't.
Well, Nygren.
Nygren, I put for him.
I heard somebody saying the other day it was, a bit worried that if Kieran Tierney was going to be fit because he is emerging as a real goal threat. When you're desperately hoping that your left back stays fit to get you going there, enough Rangers get their one today because their left back pops up. But this is what I'm saying, that they're not functioning. These teams are not functioning. No team is fully functioning unless you've got strikers at the top end of the pitch that are creating and taking chances. And I thought that was really interesting what Scott was saying about Nadiri and Chermiti. I think he's absolutely bang on the button with that. The two of them, they're out there on the pitch, but there's no partnership. And they play like individuals. And I'm sure that Danny Rowe must have thought when he got Nadiri and added him in, because he'd scored quite a lot of goals in Germany, hadn't he, in the first half of this season. I think you're thinking you've got every right to think this guy comes into the team and adds goals. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. And Celtic, as we keep, I keep referring to, they just don't have a striker. They don't have anybody that can be trusted to lead the line.
Yeah. Look, I don't know how anyone can argue with you on those points, to be fair, but if you want to, please hit us with the comments. Plenty coming in. As I said, Keith, you caught up with Mick Gannon, who was at the game yesterday. Shall we have a listen to see what his thoughts were?
You're asking again.
I know. See, as soon as I started, I thought, what am I doing? Right, let's hear what Mick Gannon had to say.
Michael, thanks for joining us Hotline Live. I don't know if you've just watched the end of that Dundee derby, by the way. Absolute scenes.
Listen, it always delivers, isn't it? It's tremendous.
It very seldom fails to deliver that fixture. So, for those that haven't seen it, Dundee 2-0 down, really dodgy penalty decision given in the first instance against Simon Murray. Then they go 2-0 down and then scrape a goal in injury time. And then with basically the last kick of the ball, launch it into the box, and Big Ross Graham heads it into his own net. And by the way, Mick, what was really refreshing about it, there was no pitch invasion.
Oh, it's not the same without a pitch invasion, is it? It's if there's not a horseback copper in town, what's the point? You know what I mean? What is the point?
Just goes to show, eh?
It's you know what? This weekend, it sounds a bit kind of arty-farty, but this weekend, after last weekend's kind of depressing scenes, do you know what? See, in general, this weekend is actually kind of restored a wee bit of faith in Scottish football. It's been proper football, proper drama, exciting results, and twists and turns, and it's. I think this weekend is. I feel a bit replenished after this weekend. Put it that way.
I know what you mean, but I do feel as if the old firm, them meeting each other twice in the space of 7-8 days, whatever it was, I think it has left a bit of a cloud over. We will get back. I just feel the games, everyone felt just a little bit, I don't know, as if everyone's been placed on pause, and that was us trying to pick it all back up at the weekend there. It wasn't a good performance from Hearts. It wasn't a good performance from Rangers. Hearts obviously dropped 3 points. Rangers picked 3 points up. And I'm not sure it was, but you can tell me, if it was a vintage Celtic either at the weekend, despite a good scoreline, a hefty win in the end.
Well, that's maybe we differ slightly here, because I was at the game yesterday at Parkhead, and listen, take away the result and the ramifications of the title race and all that stuff. Do you know what? I was watching a game with a Motherwell team that sticks to their principles, tries to play football for 45 minutes, had the most possession I've ever seen on a away team, a domestic away team having at Parkhead. I'm watching guys like Elijah Just taking a dull one in 7 minutes, then getting up, strapping himself up, and then being brilliant for 45 minutes. I'm seeing Celtic playing the break at home and being dangerous. A really competitive game. And at half time, I said to the guys that, you know what? I'm really enjoying this game of football.
Yeah.
There's no pitch fighting. There's no flares getting lobbed into you. There's nothing. I mean, it's just a good game of football. And I must admit, I thought it was really cleansing to embrace it.
Well, I'm glad you had a nice Saturday, Michael.
I did enjoy the fact that I was up to my balls and work right enough. But apart from that, it was a good game. It was just a good game. It was just a really enjoyable game with jeopardy involved in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Two teams that were playing at their skin at times. And I thought it was a really, as a spectacle, it was just really enjoyable.
Right. So talk us through. Obviously, there's a key moment in the match, which VAR had to bring John Beaton's attention to, which is a surprise given that he was kind of looking straight at it at the back post. But obviously, VAR intervened. Longaloo sent off for a foul on Dyson Maida, and Celtic get the penalty, and that was really the moment that turned the whole match, Mick.
It didn't. Actually, Celtic came out second half with a total different tempo and more aggression, and they were much better second half. I don't think they were that bad the first half. Motherwell, I thought, were terrific the first half. I thought Motherwell gave away a silly goal, as did Celtic right enough. But I thought it was a really good game, batting the balance at half time. Celtic came out and had a 15-minute spell. They were dominant and the pressure to the building. Weirdly, Motherwell had a wee kind of couple minutes spell when they looked really just kind of weathered the storm. That's when the decision happened. It was weird because obviously you're watching it live and it looked like Dyson Maida had gone for a diving header and just missed it completely.
Yeah.
From where we were sitting. And it's not to see it again and you think, oh, actually, it's pretty obvious it's a penalty kick and it's a red card. John Beaton's is 5 yards away or something like that. Look right at it. Do you know what? I think, see, watching that instant, and there was another couple in the game as well, he looks like a referee might have lost a bit of confidence. So I think he's waiting for VAR to kind of step in to validate any decision or overturn any decision. So I think rather than making the call and then risk getting it overturned, I think he said, I'll let it go and then the boys will pick it up and sort it out. Because I happened to get a moment, 5 minutes later, there's a moment when Shankara's running through and gets clipped right on the edge of the box and he doesn't give anything. And it was either going to be a foul outside the box or a penalty kick. I think Beaton thought it was a penalty kick and done the same again. I think he waited. I haven't seen it again, but I think it might have been outside the box. So therefore, he can't call it a foul. But I think, again, he was waiting for the safety net to come and help him. That, to me, seems like a referee maybe lost a bit of confidence. I don't know. Listen, I could be looking into it too deeply.
No, I think you might have a point.
There's another one in the first half when Oxlade-Chamberlain left a bit on Elijah Just. And at the time, we're sitting to that stand watching, and I thought, oh, that looked late. That looked like it might be a naughty one.
I was going to bring that up, Mike. I haven't seen that one, but obviously we do the Monday jury in the paper. I think Andy Newport mentions that tackle and thinks that VAR should have intervened. So that suggests that he thought it was a red card.
My first reaction was, oh, this could be in bother. He could be in bother here because he's left a bit on him. Weirdly, it was one of the ones, usually when you see a tackle in slow motion, it looks worse. I think it didn't look quite as bad in the slow motion, but it's still probably a top-end booking. It was probably right at the top end. And Oxlade-Chamberlain was involved in another little tackle later on in the second half that could have been a second booking. So obviously, if I can't get involved with that one. But again, a referee could have straight to red card and then let the boys have a look at it and then see if he'd made a mistake or not. I don't think, if he brought a red card at that point in time, I don't think VAR would have overturned it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But likewise, I don't think there was quite enough for VAR to overturn the yellow and the red. Do you know what I mean? It was right on the... It was too subjective, I think, for VAR to come in. It's not a clear and obvious error. It was subjective. So it could have been a red. It was a yellow. And I don't think if it went either way, anyone would have complained too much either way. Well, they would. That's what they do. But I think it was a late one. Fair play to Elijah Just. By the way, every time I watch Elijah Just, I think this kid is... And see, for 45 minutes, seriously, I thought he was a joy to watch, honestly.
I've been saying it pretty much since the start of the season.
Yeah.
I can't understand why neither Celtic nor Rangers have been battering down Motherwell's door for a couple of these players, but Elijah Just in particular.
Well, genuinely, I think I said to John in this show during January, I was like, I can't understand this. I know I can understand why the Stampede to get Masmanisi because he's goals, but Celtic should be looking at this wee guy. Nothing to him. I mean, it looks like the wind would blow him over.
Yeah.
But he's a wee warrior, digs in about, great wee pass at the ball, finds pockets of space. But you know what? He wins the ball. I think I put my match support. He's like one of these Victorian street urchins, pickpockets. He knows how to read he gets in and nicks the ball at people and all that stuff. He's great at winning the ball back high at the pitch. It's great for the way Mull will play. And it caused guys like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Hatate and others, Negrin, a bit of a problem for a while. What I would say is that I was impressed the way Celtic got to grips with the game.
Celtic got a bit closer to them in the second half, Mike. I think that was it. They were a little bit more aggressive. They played the game, and well, listen, by the way, such a respect Celtic showed to Mull. Celtic set up in the first half to hit in the break at home. I've never seen it before in a league game. Never against Rangers. Set up to play in the break. Mull played the game in Celtic's half. And by the way, Celtic looked more dangerous in the break. I thought Celtic probably were more threatening. But Mull played the game. They had 56% possession first half at Parkhead. You don't see that unless you're in a European game. Mental, isn't it? They're a great watch. They've been a great story this season. And ultimately, they're 10 points off the pace now, which is what they were going into the weekend, which was probably too much in the first place. But I tell you what, they will leave their fingerprints all over this running. There's no doubt about it for me.
I just thought that listen, we've battered Celtic all season for the lack of quality, lack of firepower, the kind of mess off the park and all that stuff. But I think you've got to step back. This run they've been on of late and the results they've managed, and you've got to say, you know what? Fair play. I mean, I counted it up yesterday because obviously Araujo was missing, Callum McGregor's missing, you look at Engels missing, and on top of the long-term ones, Jota, Carter Vickers, Alistair Johnson, Callum Osmond, all these guys. There was over £40 million worth of players unavailable. First he was suspended. I mean, 40 odd million pound of players not in the park yesterday for Celtic. I mean, know what they're lacking, right? But that's a lot to take out any team, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, this is why it's all set up for Hearts, isn't it? This is why, because as much as Hearts will continue to improve with Tony Bloom, and if Derek McInnes stays there, I don't think they'll ever get a shot at it as good as they got this season. This is it. This is their opportunity.
No, this is the thing. And listen, Hearts have been terrific, right? But if you look historically, the points they're on now, there's teams in Scotland have had this amount of points and been kind of second. But because Celtic generally have been 15 points ahead at this point, nobody really notices it. I mean, I think Derek McInnes himself had about 60 odd points with Aberdeen at this time, 3 times in a row. During the kind of early, when Ronnie Dyla and then Brendan Rodgers came in. So they're taking advantage of it and they're doing brilliant. But I mean, Celtic have had missing. These guys are a huge miss to Celtic. I mean, for all we talk about Celtic being a shambles, they're missing some big players. But the ones that are, what I'm saying is that by hook or by crook, Celtic are finding a way, and guys are stepping up. I mean, guys like Yang yesterday. Listen, Yang has been kind of divides opinion, so to speak. He's got a wee kind of crowd of kind of cult following. Some Celtic fans. But he was terrific yesterday. I mean, he stepped up with some big moments at times. Excuse me. He was great yesterday. Scored 2 goals. Can't fault him for effort. I think his decision making's a bit ropey. And I think the problem with him is that strikers don't know. Well, I think the problem is he doesn't know what he's going to do next. So therefore, strikers haven't a clue.
Yeah.
And the same goes with Tanecki on the other side. Same goes with Dyson Maeda as well. These guys don't really know what they're doing at times. And it means if you're a Celtic striker, you're like, how am I meant to guess where this is going to be when you don't know what it's going to be? He flashed back 2 or 3 years with Kyogo. Kyogo knew where Abada was going to put it. He knew where Jota was going to put it. He knew where Matt O'Reilly was going to put it. Now Celtic are all disjointed. There's no cohesion, but they're finding ways to win games. And that's the first time of their 2-goal margin in a game since Martin O'Neill's first game of his second rescue mission back in January. So it's been 2 months since they had a 2-goal margin. So the last 50 minutes was the first time in 2 months that Martin O'Neill sat back with a 2-goal cushion and thought,
is this
relaxing?
Is what we saw then at the weekend? Could we be looking back on that at the end of this season as the weekend that changed it? The weekend that the momentum really swung in Celtic's favour?
Do you know what? It could well. Listen, I think there's still more twists. I think all these teams are going to drop points. So I wouldn't. I think we'll find out down the line. But it did feel like having the back of that away run of getting through Stuttgart, Aberdeen, Rangers twice, and somehow getting through them with 3 wins and a draw and through the cup. This game is, I think, as important as all of them, or even more so. To get that win and to get it eventually with a bit of comfort, which hasn't been the case all season. I think it was a kind of a big moment. This is without Callum McGregor and without the the one sign in January who's been good at right back. I thought it did say something about this Celtic group. And yeah, well, listen, the bookies this weekend have switched it back to Celtic being favourites again.
Right.
I think the Hearts slipping up, and then the way the fixtures are going to fall, because obviously Celtic have got Hearts and Rangers at Parkhead after the split. So it seems to have tilted a wee bit towards Celtic. I would caveat that though, because I still wouldn't say you would trust the Celtic team to just go on a relentless winning streak for now to end the season. So I think there will be slip-ups. I mean, they'll get both, we mentioned the Dundee derby, they'll get both Dundee clubs in the next 2 weeks. United, then Dundee, both away. That two have been lost at Tannadice, lost at Dens this season. So we could be sitting here next Sunday going like, oh, it's wide on again. Hearts are bang on. I mean, Hearts, we were sitting last week saying that Hearts could go 8 points clear last night. I know it's 2 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's wild.
So what we're saying is there is no such thing as a definitive moment this season. You just need to sit and see.
I mean, how many times are we going to change our tipping for the title? I mean, the good thing is now, if you dig out all these old clips, you just put them all together. It's a spin the wheel time, isn't it?
Aye, I'm going for Hearts. Rangers, Celtic.
What's it called? Another game, if you do backtrack, you call it a reverse ferret. Your ferrets are spinning in circles, man.
Mike, I'll let you go. Thanks for joining Hotline Live. We'll see you through the week.
No worries. Catch you later on.
Michael Gannon there, fresh from his audition for Green Street 2. With that,
he didn't look very fresh, did he?
And wearing a bright maroon top as well. A few people in the comments saying, is that him showing his colours?
Aye, okay. I just think he went a bit heavy in the old derelict look there, didn't he?
Aye.
It was a big weekend for Michael.
We've got a lot of Celtic comments coming in, Keith, and the Celtic fans are very upbeat in the comments. Wilkinson says, in Martin O'Neill, we have a manager, a boss who's miles clear of the others in the games he's been in charge. John says, yesterday was Youngsters' paradise, although he's not quite in the young gang yet. He also says Martin O'Neill was a master tactician and chooses the side and set up to beat the team in front of him. His subs are great too. This one here from Derry says Celtic about to hit top form. The right time, we have players come back, Calmack, Osmond, Johnston. We've got goals from many areas. Berzuno says the only player in Scotland Celtic should be looking at is Braga. D says, well said, Mick. People are still hanging their hat on Celtic playing poor because it's the in-trend thing to do right now. They played superb second half despite their injuries. Give credit. McKenna, though, Heartsman, says Celtic only took control after the penalty and sending off. I mean, a few people also, Keith, pointing out as well that for all their faults, all their lack of number 9, Celtic are the top scorers in the league. 56 goals to Hearts 52.
Yeah, and you know, listen, I don't know how many times you can say it in how many different ways. Nobody can underestimate what Martin O'Neill has done. It's been astonishing, an astonishing tribute to his management skills. You know, I remember watching Walter Smith take Rangers to the UEFA Cup final, it was at the time, in Manchester, and that was a playbook in how to be a good manager, how to get a group of players and somehow make them perform way above the sum of their parts and do things that shouldn't ordinarily be possible. And Martin O'Neill has done the exact same thing over 2 stints at Celtic this season. It's you know, they should be showing it at coaching school to all the wee guys with their computers. This has been an exercise in top class management. And it's because he doesn't have Henrik Larsson and he doesn't have John Hartson and Chris Sutton. The same way in Walter Smith's second spell at Rangers, he didn't have Gascoignes and Laudrups and Hateleys and McCoys. So it just shows what a good manager can do purely by getting a group together, assessing its weaknesses and its strengths, and then putting out a formation and a tactical blueprint which makes them more able to win games of football. And Martin O'Neill has done that the same way Walter Smith did it previously at Rangers, and you can't speak highly enough of it. Yeah. And yes, Celtic are now within 1 point, within striking distance, and even despite the fact that they're operating without a functioning striker, it's Martin O'Neill that's getting them there. That's why I'm saying I wonder if he fancies getting the boots on and having a wee go himself up front. It's staggering. It's really an incredible watch. This whole campaign has been an incredible watch, and I don't know which way it goes. I've been riding on the Hearts horse for a while. I'm going to stay on it because, as Derek McInnes said the other day, despite losing at Kilmarnock, the bottom line is Hearts would have bit their hand off at the start of the season if they were told they'd be sitting top with 8 games to go, which is exactly where they are. And now, at this critical moment, back comes their talisman, Lon Shankland, and the best midfield player in Cammy Devlin. So that's where we're at, but anything could happen.
Yeah. Well, I was actually saving that for the end of the show. Davy Hoops was asking, are you changing your horse yet? But no, you're very much still on that big maroon stag.
Well, let's not talk about horses and bookies and all that, because I had an uncomfortable week with Cheltenham last week. I'm not in the mood to talk about it. But yeah, in terms of look, I spelled it out at the start. The reasons that I think that Hearts, they're in pole position, heading into the kind of final stretch here, and they've got goal scorers, and I think that I might be entirely wrong, by the way, but I do think that goal scorers are going to be the game changers in terms of where this title goes. And Hearts have got the best two leading their attack going into these final 8 games. And
do you know what I would just add to that, Keith, is that, look, again, I could be totally wrong, but see all these comments coming in, and I get it. It does feel a little bit, like you said to Mick, perhaps this was the weekend where it went in Celtic's favour. You know,
Killie in the blink, Dan.
I know, I see that behind me. I know. Can I get the IT to work these days? But what I was going to say is, it feels like the pendulum swung in Celtic's favour, but all these kind of very upbeat comments, and we appreciate them. I think it's far too soon to be saying that's it. Hearts have bottled it. There's going to be so many more twists and turns.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I said to Mick. At the end of the day, once the dust has settled, once we know where the helicopter's flying on the last day of the season, we might look back to this weekend and say, do you know what? That was when Celtic really started to get a foothold here. Yeah. Or we might not. Who knows?
Who knows? Keith, you mentioned the Dundee derby there, and obviously it was 2-2.
By the way, what a brilliant fixture that is, the Dundee derby. Never, ever fails to deliver.
Dundee 2-0 down in stoppage time, 94th and 96th minute. Come back to win 2-2, to draw 2-2. Jim I did feel that way. Jim Goodwin did not hold back on his players though after the game. He was showing no mercy, no compassion. In fact, let's have a listen to him.
Just sums up our season, that there. Last 5 minutes of that game. Lost count of the amount of times we've thrown away points from winning positions. The amount of late goals, just not seeing out games. Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic, really, to be honest. Can't believe 5 minutes before the game finishes, we're all, feeling good about ourselves and having witnessed one of the best Dundee United performances in the Dundee derby for a long, long time. One of the most one-sided derbies that I've seen for a number of years. We should have been, or could have been, 4 or 5-0 up before Dundee put the ball in the back of our net. Iovo has a chance first half, heads it over the bar. McCracken makes a great save for Sevelge. Lucas Stevenson should score at the back post in the second half. Numerous chances, and should have been well out of sight. And we concede that goal to make it 2-1. Really poor on us, on our part. And then the last kick of the ball, we score an own goal. So really, really difficult to put into words right now.
How are the players feeling in the dressing room at the moment?
Well, what would you imagine they're feeling right now? I mean, clearly they're, gutted. But it means nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been here far too many times. Far too many times this season.
Like, God forbid, but that looks like a man that's lost a family member or something. He looks absolutely devastated.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what response he gets for his players next week.
And I know.
I didn't actually see, and obviously Dundee United just need to walk up the road, don't they? But I don't know where the team bus was, but they've just been thrown under it.
Big time, aye.
Oh, wow.
And look, I know we're biased in that, but like I've watched a lot of English games recently, Arsenal, Chelsea recently, but the Dundee derby, the Edinburgh derby, the Old Firm derby, streets ahead and down south in terms of drama, storylines.
Yeah, I mean, look, well, just on the back of, you know, an Old Firm game, which some of us will be in a rush to forget in terms of the scenes that we saw and all that. So that wasn't great, Dan, and that's the baggage that still needs to get properly addressed, and we've talked enough about it. But in terms of the drama and the passion and all these things that make Scottish football so different from the top league in England, we've been thrown we've been throwing the kitchen sink at it this season.
Yeah.
To such an extent that people down south, I think you're right, Dan, people down south are looking at our league going, I wish we had a little bit of this. I mean, it's madness, but it's brilliant. And the bottom line is we are where we are with 8 games to go. And I don't think, look, Celtic fans will think that this is a massive weekend and a big turning point. Rangers fans will think, oh, we dug out a result at St Mirren there when, you know, I think they'd drawn the last few in Paisley. So everybody will cling to different aspects of it and think, well, why this is, you know, now a certainty that this is going to happen. But the truth of the matter is, none of us have got a clue.
Yeah.
Because this season has been incredible in terms of its unpredictability. And I think it's going to stay that way. And I genuinely think, what I do think, I'm making a prediction now after seeing all that, you just kind of feel it's written in the stars that however this ends, it ends on the final day, the last day of the season. And we're going to be strapped in till then. And who knows what sort of car crashes and what sort of drama there's going to be. But I just feel that this season is fated to go all the way to the wire. So how's your ball?
Completely agree. Amen to that. And I think that's the perfect note for us to finish Sunday night's Hotline Live. Brought to you by NordVPN. Thank you so much for all the comments, all the questions. We massively appreciate it. Massive thank you as well to Record Sports' Michael Gannon and Scott McDermott for joining us. And Keith, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Dan. And we'll see you tomorrow.
We will. We're back at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.